Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
Always remember to drink your fruit juice, kids. It's important.
It sounded a little creepy there. Always remember, kids, drink your fruit juice.
Find the one in your daddy's fridge and drink it.
Jesus. This is not sounding any better. All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. It's Cup of Joe. Week, what the fuck is it, 22? I don't know. We didn't say it in the last episode. 22 point dose. It's the comic edition, baby. This one might be a little bit of a shorter one, only because, I don't know about you, Joe, but I'm very sweaty from the hour-long thing we just recorded for the Snyder Cut. Still, one of only 3 channels on YouTube that talks about that movie. Only one of 3. That's it. That's all. It's not that many. Go listen to that.
I'm not sweaty. I have a little bit of bald head secretions. Besides that, I'm quite comfortable in the apartment. You know, I'm in my pajamas actually doing this. So just everybody, you know, if you're imagining who this sexy voice belongs to, it's also belongs to a very not sexy person.
Bald individual in his PJs. All right.
Anyway, so depressing.
It really does. And you're cracking a beer and you're just like
talking about comics.
We are what you call professionals. Okay. So we got 2 comics we're going to talk to you guys about today. First one we're going to be talking about is going to be Nightwing, and then we're going to hit you with that Radiant Black El Dos. So, first things first, Joe, let me tell you a little bit about Dick Grayson, okay?
Dick.
So, wonderful.
Oh, man. Is his name Richard or something?
So, it's Nightwing number 78. And in this book, it's like a clean jumping on point. Because as we know, Infinite Frontiers just started up in DC. So basically everything, it's not rebooted, but it's like, it's a nice clean, okay. So if you haven't read any of these series for a while, nice jumping on point would be starting right about now. So I figured since Tom Taylor is going to start writing the book, I'm like, all right, I will pick up the first issue that he writes. And this is it. Tom Taylor, again, known for things like Injustice and Deceased, and probably something else that I'm not thinking of that's someone else's favorite book that I don't know. Anyway, he's really good at writing these characters, especially characters that aren't like considered top of the line, like your Batman, your Superman, your Wonder Woman, your Green Lantern, your Flash, all that sort of stuff. He's really good at taking the like B and like D list characters and then writing them to be really compelling, great people. So the fact that he's on a Nightwing book, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in, baby. And Joe, I don't know what it is about Nightwing books, and always starting off with just a double page spread of the character diving into a city. But this one has one of those too, and you think I'd be sick of it by now. But it just looks so goddamn good. So this has one of those, and it's beautiful.
I can already picture it in my mind. Oh, God, it's gorgeous.
Wonderful. It's a sunset. You got some nice warm colors bouncing off the concrete and the glass. And it's, instead of Nightwing being like a full character spread across the 2 pages, he's like maybe an inch big. It's a silhouette. He's jumping like off a building, so he's completely silhouetted by the sun, and the city is like the main focal point of the double page spread. So it's really nice. The story also pretty simple, but also really cool. You can tell it's like, you know, it's just picking up after the previous run of stuff. All the things that happened before this, like I know Nightwing got like shot in the head and lost his memory and became Rick Grayson for a while. And then that just got fixed before the Joker War, which took place like at the end of 2020, where he came back to being Nightwing. So this is like picking up after a while of Dick Grayson not being Nightwing. He was someone else, and then he became himself again because he got his memories back or something like that. So it's like, all right, Nightwing, here you go. None of this weird stuff where it's like it's not really Nightwing, but it's like, so what is Nightwing? Like, no, this is Nightwing. And you're like, okay, cool. For most people who like don't care about continuity all that much, all you need to know, it's a good starting place. It's Nightwing as you probably know him. Previous continuity, whatever. And it's pretty simple. There is a like a Kingpin-esque character named Blockbuster who's kind of like running the city, and where Nightwing works out of his Bloodhaven, not Gotham. So he's kind of like running that city. He kills the previous mayor who he put in power because he wasn't doing what he wanted him to do. And then he's like, all right, you are now the mayor. And he points to some woman that he's with. And you find out that woman's last name is Zuko. Now, aside from being an Avatar The Last Airbender character that everyone goes crazy for, Zuko is actually the name, or the last name, of the man who killed the Flying Graysons, like sabotaged their trapeze act. So this is the daughter of Dick's parents' murderers.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Indeed.
There was fruit juice in my pipe hole. Damn, I really thought that was about to be some Avatar Nightwing crossover, but I guess that this other thing sounds kind of interesting too. I like that. That's pretty cool. So, is she kind of just gonna be like a puppet, or it does, like, how's that looking?
So she's seemingly like a puppet to Blockbuster, but then a little bit later on, you get revealed she has like her own assistant or whatever. And the assistant asks her, she's like, "Hey, Mayor Zuko, like, when are we have the Blockbuster problem. We're going to deal with that in time. But what about him?" And she goes, "I think it's time we dealt with him." And they turn around and it's just a poster of the Flying Graysons with Dick circled in the center. And you're just like, "Oh, okay." Because I know in previous stories, like sometimes the daughter of Tony Zuko is like sympathetic towards Dick because he's like, she wasn't a murderer. Like her father was just like some asshole, and she was like, I didn't want to, like, I don't want any part of this sort of thing. Like, I'm just a normal person. And then in other stuff, she might be a bit more, she's in with the mob or something like that, and so she's also a murderer and whatever. But it's a little unclear right now. So I'm intrigued, but also I'm like, okay. But that's all like the plot of this book. The real good stuff comes towards the end, where it is, as Dick's walking home, like he rescued a dog from a bunch of jackasses who were like trying to beat it up, and he's just like, Jose.
Yes.
Okay, you went quiet for a second, so I didn't know what was going on.
Well, you went quiet for a second, and I didn't hear what was going on.
Yay, technical difficulties! Doesn't everyone love when this happens?
You know what this is? You know what this probably is, Joe? It's good old university Wi-Fi that doesn't actually exist, but they're like, here, we just made some fake Wi-Fi. Why don't you use that? Go to your classes. We love you all, even though you pay a shit ton of money. Oh boy, go to school, kids. Don't go to school.
Don't take our advice.
Drink your fruit juice.
Drink your fruit juice. So when did you stop hearing me then?
Everything just went blank. It all went dark, Joe. It was just me and the fruit juice.
It all went dark. Oh my god. Okay, I'm just gonna real quick. So Mayor Zuko, don't know what she's going to be, good or bad, but the real good stuff in the book comes at the end because Alfred is dead. Okay. And yeah, oh no, it happened a while ago, but because Dick Grayson just came back to like being Dick Grayson, Barbara appears in his apartment, and he's just like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I have like you weren't at the reading for Alfred." And he's like, "Yeah, I was a different person then." And you're like, "Oh, okay." And so she gives him like the laptop to show him what Alfred left. Turns out Alfred was a billionaire as well because he worked for the goddamn Waynes. And so when he died, he left Dick his like all his money and his assets and stuff like that. So Dick Grayson is now also a billionaire, which is crazy because Batman is right now poorer. Like he's not poor, but like he lost most of his money in the Joker War. So he's like tactical Batman where he doesn't have a whole lot of money. He's kind of working on the streets and stuff like that. But now Nightwing is a billionaire, which is cool. But then he reads the letter from Alfred, and it's just him sitting on his little like fire escape thing, and he's reading the letter, and it's just Alfred talking to him about how he's always been like such a good person, and he's always been the hope for both Alfred and Bruce for a better tomorrow, and he knows that he's going to be that better tomorrow, and it's just really beautiful. And I love there's a panel, a series of panels where as Dick is reading, Barbara's sitting out there on the fire escape with him, and so like she's sitting up a little higher behind him, and she reaches out her hand over his shoulder, and he kind of just takes and holds her hand as he reads the letter, and he's like crying a little bit because of how beautiful it is. And that's it, like that's kind of like the end of it. But also I was just like, oh god damn, that page on its own was just really, really good. So I am very excited to see where the rest of this goes based on just that alone.
Damn, Nightwing got some feels. That actually, I can picture it in my head, and that's something that like I would read it and I would be like, oh my heart, I'm gonna cry.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But yes, that's pretty much all I want to say on that. It's good. I'm excited for it. If you like Nightwing, again, Nightwing number 78, good place to jump on. But now that we got through that, Joe, talk a little bit about Radiant Black Numero Dos.
Oh boy. Well, Joe and I raved about issue number 1, and issue number 2 is it's a good follow up. The art is the same, but it still looks great. I'm a big fan of it. The humor in this story is good. Like, I feel like sometimes, especially with me, humor in like comic books is really, really hit or miss. Where I'm like, oh, that was a big negative, or it just really pays off. In this one, it's there just enough that I find it funny, and it's not like they're trying too hard. So good humor, and Joe, I want to tell you this opens up with right after where the first issue comes off, and our boy, oh God, what's his name?
Nathan.
Nathan, yes, I knew that. He's coming home after his night out. Turning into what's it? Is he Radiant Black? Does he even have a name yet?
No, he doesn't have a superhero name or anything yet. I don't know if Radiant Black I don't know if Radiant Black is the power or if it's like going to be a superhero name. It's unclear right now. It's just the title of the book so far.
Okay. I just wanted to double check I wasn't missing something. So he comes home. He's like, "Oh boy, that was a long night." And his dad's there, and his dad's like, "Ah, son, you're alive. I thought you were dead. Good to see you." Joe, is his dad wearing a Star Trek like zip up? Like,
That's what I was thinking. I was looking at that. I'm like, what is that? Like, is this
his
Star
dad
Trek little triangle thing?
Is his dad Picard?
No, he has hair. He can't be Picard.
I'm Picard.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, you were Picard. You are quite bald. Yeah, I don't know. It could be.
But anyway, he sits down. He's like, "Oh, son, have breakfast with me." And then he's like, "Hey, son, you actually gonna make some money and do something with your life?" And the kid's like, "Oh my God, Dad, please, not right now." And the dad's like, "Hey, you gotta figure it out at some point." And they get a little testy, and Nate's just like, "God, I'm going to bed." And that I found that pretty cool because, like I said, when we talked about the last issue, the actual the non-superhero stuff in this book is pretty cool. Like his actual personal issues seem interesting. So he's kind of like a struggling writer. And after that, we find out that his buddy is like working at like some movie store, and the cops show up and like, "Hey, we need to talk to you." And you're like, interesting." And then next thing you know, Nathan's floating in his bed or above his bed, and the cops show up and they're like, "Hey, we gotta talk to you." And so they're like, "Hey, like, what the hell's going on? Like, what's going on? Like, are you working with the other guy?" And he's like, "What are you talking about, the other guy?" He's like, "He's you, but red." And that's what we found out. That was the last page of the last issue, that there was a somebody else pretty much had the same powers and suit as Nathan, but they were red and they were like robbing banks. So that is pretty cool to see Nathan react to that. And Joe, I want to say something, that the cops, I don't know, they seem a little weird in this. Like they keep saying like, think of your community. Like I feel at first I'm like, oh, maybe this is just saying like, hey, if you have powers, you should help us out. But I don't know. Am I reading a little too into this, that maybe there's something else going on?
No, I definitely think there is something else going on. I had that too, like written down. Like, why do they keep talking about if they go to your community? But I also find it interesting how, like in this book, the cops immediately know. Like, it's not a Spider-Man situation where they're like, "Who's this person under the mask?" It's like, no, they know exactly who this person is. They're like, we have your name, we know where you live. Like, we have Marshall, your friend. He basically ratted you out. And then yeah, so it's weird, but they also just kind of like leave him alone after that. Like, think of your community, and we're gonna go back to being cops now, okay? So don't do anything too stupid. And we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like hopefully we get more info about it, but what I like I said earlier, the emotional aspect of this story I think is really good. Nathan's actual character I find extremely interesting, and now that Nate knows that there's another one of him, he begins to try and look for him. And we get this, funny little like couple panels of him working for their equivalent of Uber and talking to some people trying to get some info. And eventually he gets an idea of where this guy's hiding. And this is something I think, I'm not sure if this is something that I saw. I'm like, oh, I bet you Joe likes this. I love how he transforms by grabbing the black hole. So like every time he gets into the black hole appears, he grabs it. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool little detail. That it's almost like the equivalent of like Power Rangers, where they get the, oh man, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but like the things that it's like their like cell phone type of thingy.
The
You know what I'm talking?
morphing stuff,
Yes,
thingamajiggers.
I think it's just called the morph, like a morphing morpher,
A
power
mighty
morpher.
morpher. I
I,
don't know.
I don't know, but it's basically like the equivalent of that, where it's like he has to have something in order to transform, and I think it
Yeah,
looks sick.
it looks really cool. Like the art in this issue, I think is better than the art in the first issue. Granted, though, that's because
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
are more chances to draw some awesome stuff. Like he grabs the ball thing, and then he goes and finds the other, like the red version of him. Um, and the red version of it, when he's doing something to like an engine, and we don't know what. And I'm like,
I
that
wrote
was a
that
detail that was
down.
in the book.
I wrote it down. I said,
Yeah,
why is he like working on like a car parts? Like that was really confusing.
yeah, he's working on something, but he's also drawn with like the energy as like veins like all over his suit, and I'm like, that looks awesome. And then the preceding fight that happens between the two of them, because of course there's a fight where Nathan is just like, oh hey, so I heard about you. You look like you really have this shit down. Could you tell me what's going on? And then the other guy is like, fuck you, and then he just punches him like across the junkyard or something like that. And I'm just like, okay. And so they just have like a bit of a cool fight. He's like the red guy cracks his helmet, which I thought was like a really cool detail until then later on it just like is back to normal and I'm like, oh, I guess it just healed. I don't know, but yeah, radiant like Nathan saves his car because for some reason the red guy drives away in his car. I guess he can't just fly. I don't know, but then he bails with the bags that he was carrying, and so Nathan is like, I gotta save my car because I can't fucking lose my car. This is my only possible way of income right now. I'm basically an Uber driver, and then he's using like telekinesis or whatever to like lift up the car so it doesn't fall off the bridge, and then he tries to telekinetically stop Red Dude. I'm just gonna call him Red. And as he's trying to, he gets away, but he manages to steal back the money bags, which leads to I think my favorite part of the book, which is when he is like, what he left these bags behind that must not have been that valuable, and so he opens it up and they're just filled with cash. And obviously he's struggling right now because he doesn't have a job and he doesn't have any money, and he's just moved back in with his parents, and he's like, you can see the way the eyes are drawn on the helmet, which is awesome. He's like, oh, I can solve all my problems with this right now. And then you move down a panel and he's like, wait, should I though? And you move down a panel and he's like, God damn it, I shouldn't. And you move down a panel and it's the acceptance and he's like, fuck, all right, I'm going to go bring these back. And so he goes and he drops off the bags back with the police and he flies away, which is also something interesting because he's just in plain sight, not Nathan, but like him in the costume. He's just like there, drops bags off, flies away, and the cops turn around. I'm like, oh yeah, there he goes. So I'm like, huh. I guess the cops are just cool with him.
Yeah, yeah, it's very non-stereotypical where it's like, oh, I have to hide my identity and I can't be seen, or like I work in the shadows. Like he's very much like, hey, I'm just figuring this out. Everybody help me. I'll help you. Like I'll just doing whatever. But the red is ripped. Like he, I know in Nathan's when he's in the suit he looks pretty ripped, but red guy looks extra ripped. And I also like when he handed the money back that on the note he kind of signed it with the symbol, like the black hole symbol, which I thought was
Yeah, a little black hole thing.
yeah. And then the other thing is that so it looks like him and Red have like different powers. It looks like Nathan has like that telekinesis ability, but also he has like the power to like, I think he said it's like pushing, like he was able to like, he accidentally like pushed him and he made him fly off, while it looks like the red dude is like super fast and he's like extra strong.
Yeah, I think Nathan's powers are probably like related to gravity, I'd assume.
That's what
That
it
would just
reminds me
seem
of.
proper. Yeah, and then I don't know if the red guy has different powers or if he just has more of a control over them. I don't know, because I've got two theories where it's like, one is he is an alien and like part of the, I don't know, because like this is obviously inspired by Power Rangers as stated by Higgins himself. So I wouldn't be surprised if like these black holes were alien in origin and Red is trying to build himself a ship to get off and like get somewhere else, or it's like an experimentation and he's been experimented on and now he's been, I don't know, trying to rebuild something to get away. I don't know. Those are my two theories as to who Red is.
Yeah, I think it's going down more. I think it's the experiment one. I think I'm leaning more towards that, especially since it almost seems like the cops. The way that I read into the cops thing, it's like, oh, maybe they know that something happened, and they're kind of like, hey, oh crap, like they found the black holes, like we have to keep an eye on them because maybe they knew about it and they're trying to like capture them. I don't know. That's where my brain was going, but I like how the story kind of ended back on the back to ground, everyday life type of note with Nathan talking to his dad again at breakfast, and him and just kind of getting really personal with him. And I just thought it was a nice way to end it. I think Higgins is doing a really good job of giving us the superhero stuff, but also giving us that emotional, personable stuff.
Yeah, definitely. He is doing a really good job with that stuff, and it's that nice balance between the weird out there stuff of Nathan doing like superhero esque stuff and then getting punched across like a junkyard, and then also the reality of being like, okay, I've got to be a driver with like no vowels. That's like their variant of Uber, and I'm gonna use this to make money, but it's also good because I get to use it to gain information about stuff, which I thought was a very clever thing to do. Um, so it's a nice balance between the wacky zaniness of superhero antics and the actual real life shit that a lot of younger people have to deal with, which is awesome. It continues. Radiant Black continues to be a really good series for me, and so I would say both these books high recommend.
Yeah, yeah. I Radiant Black. I'm excited to see what more we get. Um, and Joe, in front of me, I have what I'm going to be picking up this week. We got some good stuff. We got some
Yes.
stuff. We got Batman Black and White #4. We have Blade Runner Origins #2 already, even though that came out like 2 weeks ago. I have no clue how that happened. Like I thought it was gonna be like a once a month
I
thing, but
guess. No, it
I
looks like
don't
it's
know.
probably be a twice a month thing.
Yeah. And then the one I'm most excited for, Teen Titans Academy #1.
Oh shit! I didn't even see that. Yeah, there it is.
Oh
Okay, cool.
yeah. Yeah, my
Very
boy Red
nice.
X.
Yeah,
I got him sitting in front of me, his
yeah.
little pop figure, guiding us through this podcast, giving me the power to talk, even though I've had that power for a while, but he gives me more power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm looking through. There's a load of stuff like Miles Morales, Spider-Man #24. I'm going to be picking up. I don't know if I'll talk about it on this because I think it's still another tie into one of the events going on at Marvel right now. But I'm definitely picking it up. Batman White Knight presents Harley Quinn #6. That's the White Knight spin-off series with Harley Quinn. That's the final issue of that spin-off series. So I'm picking up that. Once in Future #17. I'm picking up that. Teen Titans Academy #1. Gonna be grabbing myself a copy of that, as well as your Batman Black and White #4. And I believe that's everything for me. But yeah, it's gonna be.
Damn, Joe. You you about to lose. I mean, while you're spending all that money, you might as well just go buy yourself a coffee, a Danish, and go sit in a coffee shop for a couple hours reading that shit.
No, no, no. That's your job. I just come home and then in isolation read them. No one. I lock myself in my room. No one comes in until I'm done. There's like a little like what
Do
you
not
call it.
disturb.
It's like one of those on air signs. Yeah, it's a do not disturb.
Yeah.
I put that on the doorknob, like a do not disturb sign from a hotel. I had turn on my on air sign that's sticking out of my door because I definitely have one of those. Um, and it's just, I bolt it with my 17 locks and then I wrap chains around the handle. It does nothing, but it just looks cool. Yeah. And then I read my comics in isolation. But yeah, so it's gonna be a busy week next week, that's gonna be crazy for that stuff. But yeah, do you have anything else to add for this?
I also wanted to give a shout out to you for giving me Batman Year One. I have not read it yet, but as I sit here, I see it next to all my schoolwork sitting there, tempting me, saying, "Hey, why not read me instead of your anatomy notes?" And it provides a good argument. So who knows? Maybe, hopefully, I'll read it soon. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. Who knows? I mean, it could be one of those things. When we're looking for something to talk about, we got Batman Year One we can go to. But I big shout out to you, Joe. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. And definitely at some point when it's like, I don't know, a dry week or something like that, we'll do the year one. We'll give the year one our good old Joe and Joe banter treatment. I don't know if you heard that because it cut out. a little.
Oh,
bit,
I heard it.
but,
I heard it loud and staticky.
Yeah. Oh. I just heard you say loud and staticky. So
All right, we gotta end it.
Yeah.
We gotta end it. The school
We gotta
Wi-Fi
end it.
is
This is terrible.
murdering us.
the Wi-Fi is terrible. Okay.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Like, subscribe, comment, all that wonderful shiznit. And before the school Wi-Fi ends us, goodbye.